Welcome in to yet another special edition of Sport Ball. I'm your boy Sam. With me, as always, are my good friends, my confidants, Seth and Kyle. Seth, you're here begrudgingly. Tell our listeners why.
Well, it's 10:57 local time PM, and my bedtime is at like 9:15. I don't know why
Okay,
I
but
picked
you
9:15.
9:15. You'd be up anyway because the Timberwolves are playing right now.
Yeah, which is why it didn't make any sense when you said, well, it's a blowout anyways. So really, it would be better if it was a blowout in order to be able to go to bed. But now I have to be up, even though it's a blowout, to do this podcast.
Yeah, but you won't be distracted.
That's not true. I'm always distracted when we record.
Kyle, are you here begrudgingly as well or otherwise?
Precisely.
Just a this is a couple guys that are happy to be here. Well, I'm just thrilled to be here personally.
You also told us we
Yes.
were doing this a half hour earlier, so you texted us minutes before we were supposed to start and said I'm just leaving.
Nothing anyone said is incorrect so far.
Nor is it
And I
surprising.
I won't attempt to make any sort of excuses. Well, we have to record, and here's why.
Do you think you would, if you had better time management skills, your secret project at work wouldn't be such a hot mess all the time?
It's not a secret.
Oh, it's
You have a
public that
secret
you guys
project at work?
are working with a certain company and doing things.
I mean, I don't know who's listening to this that would report anything that would reflect negatively on it. There's not a lot of press around these sorts of things, you know? Not a lot of press around nozzle projects. Anyway, here we are as we sit here. The first round of the NBA has completed. The second round, in fact, has already begun.
Mm.
Seth's two favorite teams are still here playing. The
Plus,
Lakers are gone. I mean,
lot to be grateful for.
let's start off. I ordered these series second round previews as in order of no particular order, to be
Mm,
honest.
that checks out.
I thought we might start with Celtics versus Knicks. Um, so first of all, if this Timberwolves Warriors game holds as it currently stands recording during the game, all the home teams and all the favorites, including Seth your Celtics, will have lost game one of round two, which I wonder if that's ever happened before. All four home teams lost in game one, all four favorites. It probably has, but I'd be curious to know. Seth, your Celtics fell to the New York Knickerbockers in overtime in game one. You shot 15 of 60 from three.
Is that good?
You missed 45 of them.
Better than the Wolves.
What's your level of panic, Seth, or any sort of distress after dropping game one to the Knicks, given that Kristaps Porzingis also left the game early with some sort of mysterious illness that he seems to get every couple of weeks?
Well, level of distress and level of panic are very different questions because I'm always distressed when the Celtics lose. So I had a high level of distress.
Right.
Um, my level of panic is probably like a 2 out of 10, at least for this series. I'd say I'm more concerned about the Porzingis illness than I am about losing game one. From what I've read today, it's and kind of reading between the lines of what Joe Mazzulla said, it sounds like it's a reoccurrence of the illness that kept Kristaps out for several weeks, which nobody ever seemed to have a diagnosis for. They just described it as a viral illness that that they couldn't quite figure out. I was hoping it was just like he'd gotten, stomach flu and was throwing up at halftime and so had to miss the
Hmm.
second half, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. So that's a little more concerning with his chances to come back, for the rest of this series and the rest of the playoffs. Um,
I don't think it's an illness.
what do you think it is?
Before he got taken out of the game, it looked like he was more so in pain from a rebound chance. I don't know if he got hit, if he whatever, but he looked like hobbled after that play, the last play that before he got taken out, and he just never came back. And then they said it was an illness, but I don't think an illness would make you look like that after a missed shot that you're going for a rebound on.
I mean, maybe he also was a little hobbled, but I don't think that's what kept him out. And he was also like, didn't look like himself even before that in the game. So I'm guessing he wasn't feeling well to begin with, but tried to tough it out.
Yeah, he didn't play very well at all in his minutes in the first half anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the glass half full view of this is, as you said, we shot 15 of 60, 25% from three, and still managed to force overtime. Um, so chances are we won't shoot that badly from three again. The Knicks shot 45% from three.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so
They also shot 54% from the free throw line, so
yeah,
A
that
lot of
won't
Mitchell
happen again
Robinson
either.
missed free throws.
Right. Those ones are to be expected, but uh yeah,
So you're
really
not worried.
it was Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, and Campaign who were their culprits of their poor free throw shooting, which isn't that surprising. But um
So your
yeah,
level of panic is low, your level of distress is high, is what I'm hearing.
yeah.
Kyle, do you was there any thought to what you were seeing in the first game that maybe the Celtics need to attack the rim a little more and take some contested layups as opposed to firing away on these threes that weren't falling on that night?
um I mean, considering with 7 minutes left in the third quarter, it was a 20-point game. Knicks started making a comeback, slight comeback, I guess, but even still, it's a 20-point game. And one single Celtic shot attempt in the third quarter was from inside the arc.
That's
Why?
insane.
Why? Literally no reason. Okay.
I can't believe they
So
only
you,
shot one 2-pointer in an entire quarter.
I mean, the Knicks did a, say what you want, they did a tremendous job defensively. They didn't have the same
Definitely.
looks that they had all season. You kind of, you know, get the sense was Tibbs rope-a-doping him in the regular season this year. The Karl Anthony Towns first year, not going to show his hand, assuming he gets to the playoffs, they get a matchup, and they're going to play the same defense that they played,
They started
those
switching
four
everything.
games. Yeah. I mean, OG and Mikal defensively were just monsters, as
So
they
good.
typically are. I mean, Mikal was made the biggest plays of the game, had obviously the biggest impact in the most crucial moments, and shot 3 for 11, I think, 3 for 12 or whatever it was.
And he played 51 minutes, made three shots, and still felt like he almost won them the overtime.
The question is like there was a handful of times, especially in the second half, where you would think that the switching that was going on when Brunson was switched on to Tatum,
Hmm.
there wasn't even an attempt to go to the rim in that situation.
Right, right.
Multiple step back fadeaway threes or long twos in the fourth quarter from him with Brunson as the primary defender. Um, Gotta feel good if you're the Knicks, obviously. Just, you know, it, I know Seth said he's not really worried about the series going into it. Now he's at a 2 out of 10. Nick showed a lot in that game. Um, so I don't think that we're also going to be in a situation where we have extremely limited first half and even second half minutes from Karl Anthony Towns because of some absolutely atrocious fouls that were called on him. He had 3 fouls with like 6 minutes left in the second quarter. Two of them were, one wasn't a foul for sure. One, uh, Jaylen Brown drive that he maybe grazed him on. It wasn't even an arm, straight up. But, you know, Celtics get the whistle the Celtics get. So that's adversity, though. We fight through it. We come out on top.
I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, I heard on a pod today that he has had 5 or 6 fouls in 11 out of his 18 career playoff games that were within single digits.
I don't
So
know if you
I'm
saw
not
those
surprised he almost
three
he
first
fouled
half.
out.
I mean, what is he supposed to do, though? Like, he played incredible defense. They weren't fouls, at least 2 of the 3 in the first half. And then you have Tatum coming to the podium after the game saying, it's playoff basketball. Why do we even have refs out here with the physicality they allow? Dude, the foul that you drew on Cat in the first quarter or whatever of that game, you weren't even touched.
I
There's
mean,
no
this
physicality.
the playoffs have been very physical. It's been like football out there. I
But except
generally
for
agree
this
with this
game,
point.
this game had the most first half free
Yeah,
throws in the entire playoffs so far.
right. But generally,
Uh,
I agree with this point.
I have no comment on the refs. I will say,
No.
um, going back to the 3-point shooting, I definitely agree with Kyle. Like we should have drove to the hoop more. Jaylen Brown also agrees with Kyle. Said as much in the post-game press conference.
That then Jalen almost has to be that guy. It seems like he's always the guy that like goes in for tough layups when they need it, right?
Yeah. That being said, according to the NBA tracking data, the
How are we gonna
Here we
Celtics
go.
were the Celtics were 7 of 32 on open shots and 7 of 24 on wide open shots. So 56 of their what was it 65 threes were either open or wide open, and we only made 25%. Regular season we make 38%. So I think part of the reason why they shot so many was because most of them were pretty open. I still don't think that was the right decision, especially considering the time in the game. But I
Hmm.
don't think it was like a barrage of contested step back threes, and that's why we missed all of them. I think we
A
just missed
majority of
shots.
those threes were contested. I don't know
Not
if you
according to
listen.
the NBA tracking data.
Yeah, sure. I know. I don't know if you listen to the Legler podcast at all. An NBA
I haven't
player in
today.
a
I
past
normally I do
life,
listen to the podcast. I haven't. No.
he went on a 4 minute diatribe about this, saying that this is why he despises this kind of stuff because watching the game, sure, it could be labeled by some tracking system as wide open, but there's a difference, right, between a rushed or a late contested shot. That doesn't mean it's a good shot. That doesn't mean it's actually wide open. Uh, and so he went on, like I said, a 4 minute rant about how people are going to be citing the open and wide open numbers from Second Spectrum until the next game, but in reality, none of those threes were easy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were
So,
some wide open ones in there and some contested ones that showed up as open. And I think that's just the thing with 3-point variance, right? Is like 3-pointers are harder to make. They're farther away. Like you can feel like they're wide open, and if they're just a little contested, they're not always gonna be falling every night. And I think that's why we all feel like the
You
Celtics
also
should
have a
be.
20-point lead and you don't need to be taking them and could be managing the clock, but people are
all
going to
of us
focus
have
on the
agreed on
fact.
that point.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. People are going to focus on the fact, well, they're obviously not going to shoot that poorly again. They could. You didn't think that they were going to this game. They weren't until the second half.
I guess we'll find out.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there were another game where they shoot poorly. I think there'll be a few where they shoot better than 15 through 6 for 60 though.
I also
Um,
think in those games, there's a better chance that we don't have foul trouble on multiple players early in the third quarter, late in the even early in the second in some. So I mean, it levels out. I'm just
so what I'm hearing from Kyle is the Knicks are not going to lose, and it's Knicks in 4.
didn't say that.
What did you pick before the series, Kyle? Did you have the guts to pick your Knicks?
I took Knicks in 6.
He did have the guts. And he's feeling great now. Seth, did you pick your Celtics in 4 or what?
5.
Reasonable. Before the series, I picked Celtics in 6, which I still feel pretty good about. I wouldn't be panicked about it them, but I don't think it's going to be an easy series for them either. Should we do a quick obituary for the Pistons and the Magic? So the Pistons fell to the Knicks in a closer series than a lot of people expected, and I think they have a bright future. Kyle, if you're the Pistons, do you try to make any sort of moves this offseason to upgrade your roster, or do you try to stay pat and add a couple veterans like you did last offseason and just try to run back mostly the same team, centered around Cade?
You have to look. I mean, you have to see what's out there. The top, quote unquote, top end of the free agency pool this year is all 36 plus year olds for the most part. Um,
Yeah,
and you also have another problem in the fact that I'm pretty sure Malik Beasley is a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. Dennis
yeah.
Schroeder is a free agent.
Tim Hardaway Jr.
Tim Hardaway Jr. is a free agent. So, I mean, you got to decide if you want to retain them or not. I assume Malik they do. You definitely want
You
to keep
gotta
that.
try. It might be a scary number though.
I'm sure Hardaway and Schroeder are replaceable. But again, I think there's some intriguing options as well, kind of further down the free agency list. We talked about them off the podcast, but we talked about them in reference for the Magic. So, you know, I think we'll see if they can make a splash. They have to. Why not? If
Yeah,
it
I
doesn't
mean,
require you giving up like all of your draft picks and one of your top end prospects, you have to do it.
yeah, I agree, and I think the same thing about Orlando, Seth, who fell to your Celtics in the first round. They need a steadying presence, and I think Suggs coming back next year, right? Seth will help them a lot with that. Could they get a Ty Jerome in the offseason? He of the 1 for 14 today. You know he's a playoff tested warrior. Um, I mean, I think they should
Cavalier,
try to
actually.
find a few options for a point guard to help them out. But what do you see as the future for the Magic here?
I think future's bright, baby. Got Paolo and Franz, good core to build around, and Suggs. Um, Obviously everyone's going to talk about you need shooting, you need to be able to space the floor. 3 and D guys, wings, right? I think that's the hard thing about playing a team like the Celtics when you're not a 3-point shooting team. And we made a big deal about Orlando being able to limit other teams,
Hmm.
including the Celtics, from shooting threes, which they did. But still, the math is against you when you don't have that weapon as much on the team. So I think
But
that's
is
probably what
Franz
they'll look
just
for.
like Franz just can't shoot anymore? Is that gonna happen forever now?
Most likely, yeah.
Maybe we'll get a shooting coach in the offseason. He just seemed like wasn't like he kept shooting them, but it was almost like he was forcing himself to shoot them, but didn't feel good about it every time.
Yeah, he's got a little hitch in his giddy up.
Yeah.
I kind of respect him for taking it though, to be honest. Shoot through it.
Yeah.
Let's go to Thunder Nuggies. Two best players in the league going at each other. Feels great. Feels like we're blessed to get that.
One of them looked like an MVP for sure.
By grifting,
I knew he would say that. Uh, so the panic level for the Thunder, Kyle, after game one, your Oklahoma City Thunder, your distress level, your panic level. The Nuggets beat them in game one off of an Eric Gordon game winner off of two Chet missed free throws. Jokic with a double, Barbara Walters 40-20. What do you how are
I
you
feel like
feeling about
double Barbara will be 40-40.
Yeah, I agree.
all right, we'll table that. So are you still confident in the Thunder, Kyle, in this series? And what do you think what kind of adjustments do you think they need to make, if any, in the coming games off of this game one loss?
Um, very confident still. Adjustments, I would say they need to not get called for grifted fouls. Um, yeah, that's
The
about
only
it.
adjustment they could possibly make is the refs being different.
It's always the refs with him.
There was a 7 minute stretch. I said this last night to end the game where there was a free throw discrepancy of Nuggets took what 13 I think I said was it 12 or 13 free throws to two free throws for OKC, and those first two came in the 40 seconds or maybe even less, 13 seconds less range when Shea was fouled to send him to the line intentionally. There was not a single foul call on the Nuggets, shooting foul at least, in the final 7 minutes of the game when there were multiple shots in the paint, in the rim. They were packing the paint. You mean to tell me that the Nuggets played the cleanest basketball that we have ever seen on a basketball court for 7 minutes?
Maybe.
Kyle, when was the last time that a team that you were cheering for got lucky with the referees? Has that ever happened?
Hmm.
He's like, I remember in 2003.
There was one call that I thought was
I,
50-50, and we got it.
You remember the Ray Allen shot? That one was
I don't I don't even know if like luck or not is the right thing to associate this with. We all watched the game, right? I mean, there was a point in time where even the announcers said, "Wow, Jokic with a football move, an NFL move on another player," and that defender gets called for a foul, not Jokic. I mean, like the grifting by him has been atrocious. I know that the sense of the public of why Shea shouldn't be an MVP is because all he does is grift his free throws. Not like that. You don't see Shea complaining to the refs ever.
I would say two of your favorite players are the worst grifters. Actually, three, now that I count, think Harden, Shea, and I don't mind Shea as much, but definitely Harden and Brunson are two of the worst. They do that little thing with their head every time they drive. Like they got shot 5 times on the way to the rim. It does get frustrating. And I feel like all-star players do it, to be honest.
I just feel like
I think on drives to the rim or like getting um a defender in motion is a lot different than like I don't even know how to explain what Jokic was doing on the basketball court, but I mean, I thought we also got rid of the rip through fouls because at that point it's like, how do you defend a player if you can't even have your hand right here because a
I think they
shooter's just
just
gonna
changed
rip
the rip
around?
through to not be a shooting foul.
Well, he got shots for it. He got free throws for it.
Honestly, I can't I barely watched that game at all, so I can't speak to this particular game. I just feel like in general, some teams get calls, some teams don't. Over the course of the series, over the course of a game, it mostly evens out. And I'd I'd rather spend our energy talking about the basketball, right? Occasionally there's something
But
extraordinarily
that's
egregious,
what
like the final of the
drove
WNBA finals. But
That is
Mm.
what
other than that,
drove
I
the
just feel
fourth
like we
quarter
should
for the
let him
Nuggets,
be
though.
imperfect.
That is what drove it. It wasn't driven by, just a missed call here or there. A free throw discrepancy of 13 free throws in the final 7 minutes of the game that that drives the entire end of the game. Like that drove their entire run.
Okay, anyway. Well, that may have been true. I didn't feel that way while I was watching it. And I didn't, I don't usually try to get on the mic to talk about the refs, you know what I mean? Um, I think there certainly could have been some missed calls against the Thunder, but I wouldn't say that is why they lost. Um, I would say the Nuggets played with a lot of force down the stretch, and Jokic was dominating everything. And Westbrook played really well down the stretch, which you're not going to get every game. Um, so if I was a Nuggets fan, I definitely wouldn't be counting on that, for the rest of the series. Seth, what do you think? Did you pick the Thunder in this series? And if so, are you worried by the game one loss?
I did. I picked Thunder in 5. Again, Sammy, you and I were talking a little bit about it. You would expect like teams that go through these marathon first round series that they have a little bit of a lag
Yeah, what's
and
up
would
with
be a
that?
little fatigued going into round 2. So I was kind of like, all right, Thunder super rested, definitely getting game 1, and then after that, the Nuggets will probably win one of the next 3, and the
Right.
Thunder will close it out in 5. So that was kind of my thought process. Obviously, they already won their game, so maybe it'll be a true gentleman's sweep. Uh, but even if it's not, I still feel pretty confident about the Thunder, because it did seem like kind of unusual circumstances how they coughed up the game with Chet missing the 2 free throws at the end, and
The refs in their pocket. It was the
right,
refs and the Nuggets together. So you picked Thunder in 5?
I did. I
Kyle,
mean,
you picked
partially
Thunder?
that was like I felt like the most popular pick would probably be Thunder in 6.
Yeah.
So I should go like either
Really?
5 or 7 to make it a little bit different. But
I was thinking the most common would be Thunder in 5, so I went Thunder in
mm,
6. Plus, just
interesting.
the respect for Jokic. I can't pick him
Yeah.
to lose, in 5 or less. Kyle, do you pick the Thunder in 5?
Sorry, I had to come off mute. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys both picked Thunder in 5. Could be a gentleman's sweep, though.
Could be.
I mean, looking at the way they dominated this season and the way they dominated the first series, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a run here. Um, we should do a little post-mortem for your Clippers, Kyle. Lost in game 7 to the Nuggets. Really poor effort by everyone, honestly. Just like came out as a team and did not look good. I mean, it's kind of like you were saying, Kyle, like, yeah, everyone's gonna blame James Harden, and we do certainly. For another poor shooting game and elimination game, but like you were saying, the rest of the team just look listless out there. And honestly, I just don't know. I mean, they're going to be probably running back almost the same team, right, Kyle? I mean, I don't know what kind of options they have, I guess, to build out here. They're probably going to have Harden and Kawhi and running back a lot of the same role players.
Yeah, most likely. Tough series loss. I mean, I guess kudos to them for taking it to 7. Honestly, they could have, if I'm remembering right, they had a chance to sweep them, more or less. I mean,
That Gordon dunk too. I mean, that might have just killed him right there. You know,
game 1, Westbrook hits 3. I mean, near the end of the game, that essentially forces overtime. Don't pull it out, lose by 2 in overtime, and then
hmm
yeah,
right?
that was game 4, right, with the
Yeah,
Gordon dunk, which
yeah.
I mean, you could say all you want. The Clippers in that game battled back from a 20-point deficit in the fourth quarter, absolutely put the clamps on the Nuggets the entire time. Um, all around effort. And
Just
then,
where was that fight in Game 7 though?
I mean, I guess what I'm saying. It's like at that point, we probably should have known,
Right.
right? Like, how do you come back from that? You just pulled off a 20 plus point comeback in a single quarter.
And then lost in a
That
heartbreaker.
at the worst, you're forcing overtime.
Yeah.
Play incredible defense on Jokic on the last play. And it just so happened that the ball came out of his hand not even point, not even a tenth of a second later.
It was the closest thing we've ever seen. We still don't really know. No one showed us the in-between frame of the ball in his hands and then the buzzer sounding.
No,
They
it's like
did
there's not.
show it.
Well, no, it's. I don't think that the NBA
Well, it was like
apparently has.
before and after.
Yeah, right. There's not the frames per second or whatever of their replay. It
I
goes
want to see
from
when the light
ball
appears.
ball in Gordon's hand, next frame, fully lit up backboard, ball maybe out of his hand, but they don't show us the
Well, it definitely
split
was out of his
second.
hand in that, but yeah, where's where the light when it's
They
lighted
don't
up?
show us the split second as soon as the clock goes to zero. It's not a simultaneous thing where clock is at
Mhm.
zero, backboard fully
Right.
lit. It takes a
Right.
second, not a full
It's gonna be like the
second.
Zapruder film. Like we're gonna be
Didn't
waiting for 20 years for it to come out.
didn't I see something too that the backboard lights don't all go on simultaneously? Like it goes from the
Right.
bottom of the
It goes from the
Yes.
bottom up
top.
and around. That's what I'm
Right. And
saying.
then
Yeah.
that second frame, it was all on. What are they
Right.
hiding?
So
Huh?
so is the shot clock over when the first light at the bottom
I
of the
would think
backboard
so.
illuminates?
Yes, it
Or-
goes, it hits zero, and as soon as it hits zero, it starts illuminating the backboard.
Right.
That starts at the bottom. We saw the shot when it was not lit up and when the full backboard was lit up.
Mhm.
What's going on in Utah?
Someone get the cork board and string out.
I don't. But man, yeah, just the way they ended that Game 7 set leaves a bad taste in my mouth about them. But I feel like they're going to be good again next year. I mean, just come playoff time, you don't know if Kawhi's going to be healthy. The whole Harden situation. Will the role players play a little better? Like Norman Powell didn't show up in Game 7 too. I believe in Ty Lue as a coach. If anyone can coach him through it. So we'll see. I mean, coming into the season, I think I had them missing the playoffs. So
Right.
they obviously wildly exceeded my expectations and looked like the second best team in the West on the stretch. Maybe they can recapture that next season despite this sputtering out at the end.
Right. I mean, from that perspective, it was definitely a huge success of a season. But just from the flashes that we saw with how well they could play, it did feel like a disappointment to just sputter out in Game 7 from everybody. And I do feel
Yeah.
like, considering how good Kawhi looked and that he was healthy the whole series, it feels like this was kind of the best possible
The
outcome
moment.
for this team, or
Yeah.
yeah. And so everything sort of went right for them and they still lost in the first round. So
Maybe the Clippers curse is real, man.
maybe 100% it's real.
I did
Well, I'm
have
not
the
gonna-
Clippers as the 6th seed coming into the season.
Yeah, I think you were
Oh, so
higher
you were
than
wrong.
both of us. Yeah. So you were too low on them, if anything.
Well, I also
Uh,
had Dallas as the 3 and Phoenix as the 4. So.
Well, we don't have to get into that. I'm not even gonna do an obituary.
So you didn't
for
see the Luka
Memphis.
trade coming, huh?
Didn't say I did.
Really an oversight on your part.
Yeah.
Maybe Nico Harrison was right all along. Lakers losing round 1.
Defense wins championships.
Oh, I'm not gonna do obituary for Memphis. They don't deserve it. So
Yep.
let's talk
They
about
had them
Cavs.
figured out.
Yeah, but Josh said they haven't figured out, so it's fine. Let's go to Cavs Pacers. Holy shit. Holy shit. Okay, so game 1, the Pacers steal and they win because apparently all road teams win game 1 in the second round. Game 2 just happened tonight. Cavs were up 20 in the third. Means nothing these days.
We should also start this by saying the Cavs
Yes.
did come into the game with 3 of their top 6 at worst, potentially 5 best players out.
Right. They were missing Garland and Mobley, 2 and 3, you would say.
Yep.
They're missing DeAndre Hunter, sixth best player at worst, and their best player on the bench. Well, Ty Jerome would like a word, although not ever today. He doesn't like a word. So it was kind of surprising almost that they were up 20. And they were coming to the game, they were supposed to be a 10-point favorite. It was dropped down to 5.5 in Vegas with all the injuries because Vegas was thinking, okay, despite the injuries, game 2 at home, like the Cavs are going to kind of steal the series back. And it looked like they were. And Donovan Mitchell had, I think, 46 points on 30 shots and 21 free throws. So you're like, okay, this is the Donovan Mitchell game. He put this team on his back.
It was
For
the
when?
Donovan Mitchell game.
But then the Pacers had other ideas. The Pacers once again found themselves down 7 with a minute left and said, this is right where we want to be. And just like last week against the Bucks, they came back and won. I mean, it was crazy what was happening out there. The Cavs couldn't inbound the ball. There was an Aaron Nesmith putback dunk that wasn't a lane violation because apparently those never exist. Then he got a charging foul called on Donovan Mitchell. And then Tyrese Halliburton went to the line, made a free throw, missed one, got
Yeah,
his
they
own
were-
rebound.
Yeah, they're
They
down
were
3.
still down. Yeah.
He goes to the line shooting
Makes
2.
one.
So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, even if he makes both, they're still gonna lose because
Right.
But makes one, misses a second, gets his own rebound, dribbles back.
Miles kind of like tripped it. Miles kind of tipped it. Helly. He dribbled it out. There was like 12 seconds left. He had Ty Jerome on him. You said everyone in their mother said this is barbecue chicken time. Goes to a step back 3, hits it. Sam Merrill throws up a prayer takes a dribble for some reason, and then airballs a prayer basically straight into the crowd, and the game's over. Pacers steal another one. What the hell is going on here? Can someone explain to me why the
I think I
Pacers
should
are so
start
good,
here.
down 7?
I think I should start here.
Please.
The refs rigged it.
I knew it.
Nesmith was at the free throw line basically by the time Siakam let go of his free throw shot where he had a putback.
It was definitely a lane violation.
100%. It's technically
Why did they never
an
call
early
those?
entry violation because he wasn't
Right.
whatever. But
On the lane, yeah.
They never called it. Why do they never call those?
this was one of the worst ones I feel like we've seen.
He was basically next to Pascal as he shot the free throw.
Do you think I'm completely speculating on this? Do you think it's kind of like in the NFL with delay a game where the process that the refs go through is that they have to like look, see that the player's in the lane, then go back and look at the player's hands, see if he's released the ball yet?
Well, then their process is extremely flawed this game because I don't know how you didn't see that.
Right.
Can they not like call that too when they go to like look at the play? Like obviously not. 'Cause
Well,
they
you can't
didn't,
just
but-
review a free throw, can you, like that? You can't
Well,
just
they
stop
were
the game
reviewing
and
it
say-
anyway because they thought the ball was still in the cylinder, but they decided
Right.
to throw
but
a
I don't
blind
think
eye
you
to the
can
lane
go
violation.
back. Yeah, I don't know if you can even go back and
Probably not.
change that call. So
That was
Yeah, I
100%
wish-
a lane violation.
I do feel like if they called it today, it would have been the correct call, and then everyone would have been like, what the hell? They called a lane violation. Those never get called, right?
there was
It's
actually
similar
one
to
call
which
this weekend.
I brought up this exact thing when there was the whole Kadarius Toney
Mhm.
offsides call, where it's like they never call that. Why are you calling it now? You robbed us of this amazing play. It's like, well, it was definitely the correct call to make. So can you blame them? The problem is that they never call it to begin with. If we just lived in a world where they called lane violations, then players would stop doing it and we
Right.
wouldn't have this problem. But
Yeah.
to call it now when you don't call it all year would also been not ideal.
The funniest thing though is there was literally a lane violation called in one of these weekend games.
Yeah,
Again,
that one
never
was
called.
I remember that.
Especially
was one
egregious.
called.
But we still were like, oh, they never call that.
Well, Donovan Mitchell had one earlier in the game where he got his own rebound, definitely a lane violation, and he turned it over, and they didn't call it.
They also had the one in that game, the the Clippers series in the last round where Russell Westbrook was almost at the rim as soon as the ball came off of it because he
Russ is
started
one of the worst
running
of these.
halfway through the arc of his shot. And
I mean, the refs let you do it, so why wouldn't you?
it's
It's
like, what's
almost
the
as if like
point,
it,
though?
the
I
world
don't
doesn't
understand.
exist.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really is. But
that
anyway,
changed. That I mean, everyone, right?
no, I
Well,
mean obviously that's a
they shouldn't
critical
have
play.
even been in that spot in the first place. Okay, so it happened and they were, and then completely more or less out of their control that
Well,
just
how about that?
illegal
What
acts
was it?
are allowed.
How about that Max Strus pass though? That was absolutely atrocious.
That was within their control for sure.
That was
That
sure, yeah.
was so bad. It feels like nobody can inbound on the Pacers when they're up big with less than a minute left.
Cavs.
So I don't know what's going on
But
here. No, I'm saying
yeah,
everyone who's playing the Pacers like can't inbound is what
no.
I'm saying. I don't know if they're doing
Is
something special or teams are just choking against them.
Here's the thing. I I watch Cavs games when they're on national TV more than I do like to seek them out. At least during the regular season. Is Strus the normal inbounder? I don't think so. Is this just a thing
It's
that
I
happened
don't know.
because they were down but Garland's short too, so I feel like I don't believe he's their normal inbounder.
Right, right. Who would it be? Mobley? Maybe Mobley.
Yeah.
I didn't feel great with Strus there, I'll say that much.
I feel like
Like I
there's
didn't
also been a lot of those in the last
yeah,
couple games as well. Just like
100%.
why is this person inbounding the ball? I mean, what was that what game was that? Someone took it out on the side by the broadcasters and just that was the Detroit game. They had fucking Jalen Duren throwing it in,
Mm,
Mm.
hmm
and he just completely sailed it over
Yeah, yeah,
Cade's
yeah.
head right on out of
Yes,
bounds on the other
yes.
side.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, but that was quite the collapse for them. I picked Cavs in 5 coming to the series, which has a slim chance of occurring now.
It's actually impossible.
I know. Did you
Slim
guys
chance.
pick? I hope you guys picked Cavs in more than me for your own sakes.
I had Cavs in 7.
Nice. You
Yeah,
made the proper respect of the Pacers.
I had Cavs in 5, and then it was announced that uh, Garland was going to miss the first game because of the toe.
See, I
But I
didn't catch that in
changed
time.
it to Cavs in 7. Debated heavily actually of changing it to Indy in 7 at that point because I'm like, they steal
Yeah.
a game at home. I know no one else seems to respect the Pacers, but can I really go Pacers and Knicks in this round?
Right. You got to pick and choose your battles.
I'm already
Mhm.
called crazy enough. Could they call me crazier? I went against my heart in that instance, and
I feel like
it might bite me in the ass, honestly.
I kind of went against my heart too. I felt like the Pacers were gonna like it was gonna be a really 50-50 series, but I felt like most people were gonna pick Cavs in 6 or 7, so I tried to differentiate myself and look where the hell that got me. Let that be a lesson. Always pick with your heart. Um, I mean, if Garland's gonna miss the most of the series and Mobley, we'll see. I wonder what the odds are now, Kyle, because I mean, I think the Pacers should be favored now.
Yeah, they have
They're
to be.
up
I mean,
2-0, and if
they
Garland's
just
gonna miss
swept on the
specific
road.
time.
Yeah, they stole both road games.
Well, going into the series, it was Cleveland minus 500 or something like that. Look up the odds right now, would you? I'll look it up. Don't worry. I'll get on DraftKings because they sponsor us. But I mean, Seth, you're picking the Pacers now, right, to win the series, or what? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean with a 2-0 lead going home, you got to, I guess. I don't think it's a done deal by any means.
Certainly not.
And especially a lot of it's going to depend
Pacers
on
minus 195 favorites, by the way, Seth.
yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on, if Cavs get their guys back and
Right.
how soon. So,
I mean, if there's no Garland for game 3 or 4, I fear it might be a wrap because there was a lot of Ty Jerome today. And listen, I love Ty Jerome.
He looked fine in the first
he'll
game. I
bounce
mean,
back.
this was an anomaly. He shot
I
one
know.
for 14.
1 for 14. And I still love him. And if I were the Magic, I'd still pay him 100.
$100.
Just a flat fee. So Vegas agrees the Pacers are their favorite now. Man,
I
do we
mean,
get Celtics Pacers again in the conference finals? No, because it'll be Knicks Pacers, right, Kyle?
The Cavs shot 3 of 15 in the fourth quarter.
Now I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen, but what if the Pacers and the Knicks both sweep? I'm just saying it's an outcome that's not off the table.
That'd be sick.
Can
Real sick.
we do a quick I don't think the Heat deserve an obituary. How about the Bucks though? Man, Kyle, no one would blame Giannis if he asked out after he had to go into battle in a closing game with the likes of Kevin Porter Jr. and AJ Green starting alongside him and Bobby Portis putting up a 40-20 or whatever it might have been, and then having to get assaulted by Tyrese Halliburton's father after the game. No one would blame him for just leaving after that.
He wasn't even touched by Halliburton's father. John Halliburton
Verbally.
didn't do anything
verbally
wrong here.
assaulted.
Free John Halliburton.
They banned
Are
him
you
from
on John
all
Halliburton's
games.
side, Kyle?
He's always on whatever side's against Giannis, so
Here's the thing, dude.
Unless it's Cooper Flag.
Giannis is. We know his antics, anyways.
Mhm.
He presents one way, but acts the other. I feel like pretty frequently. It's kind of just who he is at this point.
Okay, but you're just standing in the court after getting eliminated in overtime, losing a 7-point lead with 45 seconds left, and Tyrese Halliburton's dad comes and waves a flag in your face. Like, I don't think I would have even handled it as well as
You're
Giannis
an
did.
you're an NBA champion, dude. Like you talk shit all the time, especially when your team's up. You and your bench and players that weren't even playing were talking shit after
That
game
is
one.
incorrigible right now.
Literally, Tyrese Halliburton himself didn't defend his father, but Kyle does
Obviously,
because it's Giannis.
obviously. I mean, like
Kyle Olsen's his real son.
that's of course he's not like gonna say, yeah, I condone my dad's actions. He's the face of a franchise right now. Like,
Well,
But Kyle's free to
because
say
they
it.
were indefensible.
how is that indefensible?
Are you even allowed to just run
You're
on
the
the
one who
court like
talked
that?
about Russell Westbrook's dunk being unsportsmanlike, and you're fine with just verbally and like waving a flag in front of
You're
this person
saying
who just
you're saying
lost.
he verbally assaulted him.
That
Well,
was
he's
I
like
was just
yelling at
joking.
him.
Obviously, that's not what happened. He accosted him.
I'm just saying.
I
I
mean,
don't
it probably
think
was
that
a little
warrants.
extreme to ban him from all the games, I will say.
That's what
The
I'm saying.
ban was a bit excessive, but I
Like,
thought
I feel
everything
like
Giannis did
Just say,
was
hey,
mature,
you
honestly.
can't sit on the court.
or just go on the court like right after the game, which I feel like isn't allowed either. But everyone likes to just masturbate over how much they can punish someone after these things, you know? And it's like, dude, it's not that big of a deal. Everyone just chill out. Anyway, the Bucks, man, not a bright
Suck.
future. Not a bright future. I mean, Seth, they have little to no mobility, picks wise, contracts wise. Damian Lillard tore his Achilles, so he's pretty much untradeable. Do you think Giannis should just ask out?
I mean, I probably
They don't
would.
they don't have a way to build a championship contender around him.
And
At
here's
least
the
not for like
thing.
2 years.
Yeah, it's
Even more, they don't own their own draft pick until like 2029 or 2030.
it's
Right.
best for both of them if he leaves.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's not really for Milwaukee. Like if your hopes are to like rebuild actually and have a team, but in terms of monetary value, there it makes no sense for them unless he asks.
I mean, I would not trade Giannis unless he asked for it, just because he brought me a champion. He's the best player in my history. I mean, Kareem and him. So like, I'm not just gonna kick him to the curb. But if he mutually agrees that it's time to part ways, like I'm down. You know what I mean? Unfortunately,
Yeah.
another sad day for the small market teams.
Yeah, and then apparently he's saying if he does leave, he wants to go to, what was it, LA, Miami, or somewhere.
Yeah, but what
New
about
York,
All
Houston?
big markets. New York,
Chicago
yeah.
was tossed in there as well. That was
I
by
noticed
one
Chicago
person.
was talked in there. I noticed that.
One person on a podcast saying that though. So
Giddy and Giannis,
no, can't
just
do that.
give us the chip now.
I mean,
No, we don't need shooting.
isn't that just the white version of Kevin Porter Jr.?
I think it's
No.
disrespectful to both players.
I can't. I would honestly be great, and it would force Kyle to cheer for Giannis. I would love it.
He'd be in immediately.
I'm not even a
He'd be
Bulls fan
back
at this
in.
point anymore, to be honest with you. So
Honestly, I've kind of forsaken them as well. That's so sad.
You guys are
You don't
despicable.
understand how bad our ownership is.
I
That
don't
like they give us
understand.
no
I'm a
hope.
Vikings fan.
You
You
guys are
just,
good.
you just not ownership, but you just sent me the thing about how Minnesota sports is the most miserable place to cheer. Like,
yeah, it was funny.
That was funny. I got a good kick out of that. I think for the Bulls, it's just like the lack of hope and like seeing a way out of this where our ownership is so bad and only cares about being 10th and selling play-in tickets. And we
I'm
just
not
like
telling you
don't.
the situation isn't bleak. What I'm saying is sports fandom, how bleak the situation is irrelevant. But
I obviously
that's my
still root for
opinion.
the
I
Bulls.
mean, of course, I
I
want them to win. I just
but I at this point in my life also like the favorite players I have mean more to me than the franchise that is in the state.
I find other ways to find joy watching basketball.
I'm not saying you shouldn't find joy watching basketball.
He wants to be miserable. But anyway, the Bucks are screwed.
Yep.
Last series here, Timberwolves and Warriors. This is a sexy ass series,
Maybe.
or we thought it would be going in. We got Ant versus Steph, one of the greatest players of all time versus one of the greatest bright spots in the league. Kyle, you were mentioning if Ant managed to beat Steph in this round, that's gonna
He
complete his
actually beat him last year, didn't he?
Infinity Stone gauntlet. Did he? No, he beat KD, he beat Jokic, and now he'll beat Steph. Am I missing anyone else?
And he beat LeBron in the first
And he
round.
Beat
just beat
LeBron.
And
LeBron,
Luca.
yeah, and Luca. So that's fine. That's enough for an Infinity.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
they didn't play him in the last
Infinity
round
Gauntlet
or
Gauntlet.
right
last year.
there. You get Draymond versus Gobert. Always fun. Draymond's gonna choke him out at some point in the series, but just get a flagrant not attack and not be ejected.
Jimmy Butler, Timberwolves revenge.
Right. The infamous practice heard around the world where Jimmy and the B teamers called Rachel Nichols and said, "Make sure you come to this practice because I'm going to start some shit." So very exciting series. It's kind of the T Wolves youth, Seth, versus the guile of the old Warriors. But tonight your Timberwolves fell in game one. Another series game, Seth, where you expected the old team coming off of game seven win 2 days before to be too tired and have those heavy legs. But instead, they came out and beat the T Wolves despite Seth getting injured halfway through the game. I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, that was maybe the most concerning part is it feels like it was a golden opportunity to win the game where the Warriors should be tired. Steph didn't play half the game. You're more fresh, you're at home. But Ant didn't shoot well, only scored 1 point in the first half.
No one shot well.
Yeah, overall they just couldn't make a shot. Uh Warriors kind of did their uh death by 1,000 paper cuts, like Kerr putting his deep rotation in there and role
He played
players
12
just making
players today.
shots. Yeah.
That is like Kyle's personal hell is watching Steve Kerr
Coach 12
waltz in.
Giannis's would be his personal hell.
Well, I mean, Kyle, he was letting Pat Spencer play 10 minutes. And I don't know, did Brandon Key get a burn? It says did not play coach's decision. Sorry, Braxton Key, but I thought I saw him out there for a second. I mean, I was just seeing anything out there with Moses Moody, Quinton Post, Guy Santos, Jonathan Kuminga got some burn. Um, Very surprising win for the Warriors in my mind, Kyle. I expected the Timberwolves to come out and lay the smackdown in game one. Maybe just one of those games where they couldn't shoot, kind of like the Celtics, huh?
Um, yeah, they were 0 for 13 at halftime from three to the Warriors 9 for 17. A 53% to 0% 3-point percentage at
Yeah.
halftime. And then I think it was early in the third quarter you had Steph. I don't know. We don't know what happened to his hamstring. That's, I don't know if he plays next game. I don't know
Right.
how long it takes. Like a hamstring strain usually is like anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks on like the less severe side, and then anywhere from 3 to 6, I think it is, on the more severe side. So,
Well,
uh,
if it's something like how what Drew had in round one, Seth, he had to miss 2 or 3 games, right? But it would have been like a 1 to 2 week injury in the regular season. So maybe he
Yeah, I
misses
think
a couple
so.
games and guts it out. I mean, I'm looking now. The T-Bulls are a 9.5 point favorite in game two. I don't know if that's counting on Steph being out or just kind of like the Cavs. They're expecting um the home team to come back and lay the smack down and tie it up 1-1. But I picked Timberwolves in six in this series. Did you guys pick similar to that?
I had him in 5. Yeah.
Hmm. Need another
yeah.
gentleman's sweep bad.
Um, yeah, I said Minnesota in 5, but I debated 5, 6, or 7. I don't know. I
Yeah,
expect Minnesota to win. Not gonna be surprised if it goes 5, 6, or 7. I really couldn't decide. So I figured most people probably aren't picking 5
right.
unless we're true Timberwolves fans like me and Seth. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at I have I need 3 of the 4 teams to sweep the rest of the way in order to get my predictions because I had
And
3 of
you need
them
the
in
Cavs to
5
win
games and
4 out of 5.
they've all lost. So,
And the
yeah,
Cavs can only drop one more game for you, right? So you really
yeah,
these teams really got to start showing up for you.
yeah. You got to whip it into shape.
I mean, we're all in similar boats when all the favorites and all the home teams lose game one. I mean, certainly
Yeah,
not
that's
what
what
we
happens.
expected. Um, a little obituary for the Lakers. So they didn't have a
Good
center,
riddance.
and Rudy Gobert proceeded to have the best game of his life on them. Never a good sign for a team. Kind of similar to the Clippers, where the last game, man, they were just in a malaise. But I expect them to kind of build more with Luka in mind in the offseason, right? Get a rim running center on the low, get a couple more wings. This team is kind of built more for Anthony Davis and LeBron. So I'm still bullish on their future. LeBron, we're going to assume comes back, maybe signs a 1-1 again. He's 40 years old, but are we just going to assume he's a second team All NBA level player again? I guess we are.
Yeah.
I don't know why we wouldn't.
And everyone keeps saying too, like, it's gonna be tough paying LeBron $50 million next year. It's like he was the 10th best, at least the 10th best player in the NBA this year. So if anything, he's a bargain. Um, so I don't know. I think they'll still be in contention next year. I think their team will be even better. And maybe LeBron can make one more push for a ring. Seth, you'd love to see that in a Lakers uniform.
False. But I don't think I think it would still be a stretch just given the West.
Yeah,
I get if you have Luca,
always got a chance.
you have a chance. Of course, a lot will be made over the offseason with his conditioning.
Mhm.
Who knows what'll happen? How much does it matter? He's still durable in the condition that he's in now. Whatever. Um, but I still kind of feel like, well, OKC's ahead of them.
Mhm.
Denver, Minnesota, right? It's not like a cakewalk in the West. So I still
Yeah,
think it would be very unlikely for LeBron to win another ring. but the Lakers are obviously in an extraordinary position, even losing in round one going
Yeah,
forward because
100%.
they got Luka Doncic this year. So that's really all that matters for as far as their outlook.
Well, and the West is so tough. Like we said it going into the playoffs, right? It's like four of these teams are just going to be, this is the most disappointing outcome possible. And it ended up being the Lakers with Luka. It ended up being the Clippers, who we all said we thought might be the second best team in the West going to the playoffs. It was Houston, the 2 seed. Like all of these great teams had a completely disappointing season because they couldn't get through the first round in the West. And Seth and Kyle, your Houston Rockets. Kyle, what do you want them to do in the offseason? I mean, obviously they should make a play for Giannis if they can. If that, if that moonshot isn't happening, are you bringing back Fred VanVleet? He seemed like necessary, like he really was their only one shooting well for many of those games. He was hot for 3 out of those games. What do you want them to do in the offseason here, Kyle?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Mostly, I think, obviously recency bias here. Jalen Green had a rough series,
Mm, yeah,
but I guess glass half full is he's got that experience now in the playoffs. I think a lot of times, right, we see younger players that have a very bad first experience, maybe not experience, but performance in the playoffs, and
yeah.
it kind of gives them an idea of going into the off season knowing how to train, what to train for. So I think next year will be a really interesting season to see what he does. I mean, he still averaged what 20 plus points this year in the regular season, what 5 rebounds, 3 assists, something like that. So, uh, very poor decision making in some of those games in
Yeah.
the playoffs. Again, you got to get battle tested. This was the whole argument with OKC last year.
Hmm.
Um, so obviously, I'm not saying they're the same level as OKC, but you need reliable scoring. Is that a Kevin Durant move? I think that's more feasible, obviously, than a Giannis trade. Um, Obviously, you still have Ishbia saying, maybe we don't actually want to trade him and we want to keep him and we want to add to. Okay,
27 teams
um,
would want to be in their position, Kyle. You know that.
correct. Yeah. Um, but yeah, a veteran, reliable scorer, I think would
Yeah,
go a long way. We've
100%.
known it the whole time, right? They're a very youthful team, and I think that's what they did, and adds to their upside.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you can, if you do that, let Fred VanVleet go. What is he? Is a team option, I think, which they actually have to make that decision this month on whether they keep him or not for the next
Could always
year.
trade him as an expiring too.
Thing is, like, he was pivotal for this current construction of the team, but at the same time, and I've been saying it all year, you need to turn the keys over to Thompson. Thompson needs to kind of be the one that runs that offense
That
more or
was that
less.
was good to see, right? He was there for the moment, unlike Jalen Green, who had his struggles in the
Well,
series. I
it
mean,
took him some
Thompson,
time too. He was extremely hesitant the first couple games, very
but
poor
he was good
decision
in Game
making.
7.
But the last few games, it seemed like it clicked for him.
Yeah.
Uh, Decisive, hard drives, finishing, acrobatic finishes, kind of everything that we saw from him during the regular season for the most part started to show.
I mean, I would say he was their best player in Game 7, so that's a good sign
Yeah.
moving forward.
So yeah, add some reliable veteran scoring, some veteran presence. I mean, Fred VanVleet has that experience, right? He's got a championship under his belt too. But I found it interesting. Uh, he passed his playoff scoring record in this series by, I think, what he has 27, 28, maybe 29 in one of the games. The most he'd ever scored in a playoff game is 25 points.
Hmm.
Is it
That is
possible he had
surprising.
another kid and we just didn't know about it? Yeah, Seth, I think they have a bright future. You guys were acting like I hated them, saying they have a second round ceiling, but I think they acquitted themselves pretty well going to seven with the Warriors. It's just, that's a young team and they don't have that go-to scorer yet. And maybe, like you said, Kyle, Clement Thompson turns into that go-to player. Şengün
I
certainly has
didn't
been that.
expect a no-show from Jalen Green when I
Right.
made that statement of them having higher than that. So here's what it is.
I'm still really
Ime
bullish on them in the future. I mean,
Ime is Ime, I guess, right? Obviously made some extremely incredible um adjustments between games, which even allowed them to get to seven in the first place, it seemed like. But some of the in-game adjustments were very questionable. Um, your life is on your season's on the line essentially in game seven, and ultimately you revert back to the initial five-man starting unit that you started the series with that was extremely unproductive. Uh, we saw players off the bench, mainly Jabari Smith, make some timely shots for them in some of those the second half of that
yeah, Jabari was
series.
like the one I trusted the most from three, to be honest.
He played the least amount of minutes of any Rocket that game. Um, I- like I just feel like you need to do a better job distributing minutes throughout. The one thing I do like is he does stick to his rotation, right? It's an eight-man rotation. There's no like fluff in there. He's not
There's no
tossing in
Steve Kerr.
someone. He's got his guys, but I think Seth, you said it before, right? He's got his guys and he trusts them to a fault. And I think that's one of the things that he's probably got to learn from this playoff run too, is like you can't be scared to make in-game adjustments the same way that you're not scared to make uh between game adjustments. And if that means playing Jabari and Tari 25 plus minutes in a game and not 14 and 12, do it. Your season's on the line. I don't know why you're not taking a stab at it.
Seth, you putting everyone on the table for Giannis?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, not everyone altogether, but nobody's off the table. And honestly, I would do anything personally to get Dylan Brooks off the team. I think that's the biggest thing they need to do, even though I think he has another like 2 years on his contract, but
Get him out of the league, honestly.
yeah,
You
out of
guys
the
hate him
country
so
if you
much.
want.
You know what I was thinking about though? Ahmed Thompson is basically just the guard version of Giannis.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be like having two
Russell
Giannis's.
Westbrook, really.
I feel like he's like a Westbrook.
Way more disruptive defensively though.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
I just thought that I
Maybe
thought about that earlier today when
maybe
one
we'll
of the
never be as good
podcasts was
offensively.
hypothesizing on potential destinations and what
Dude,
people can give up, and it's like, does that really fit
trying to
those
score
two
on them
guys?
though? You try to score on Amen and Giannis?
I mean, we just saw it. We just saw it in this playoffs. It was extremely tough for Golden State for the most part to score, but there was no offense down the stretch. The thing is,
You definitely have
with
to have a lot of
Giannis, like you
shooters.
can get to the rim. You're gonna get to the rim,
Yeah.
I guess.
You need
But
to surround them with really good shooters. Reed Shepard, anyone?
yeah, Cam Whitmore. I don't know why they didn't make any appearances, really.
All right, Cam Wood less. All right, we got to hop off. It's 12:06 a.m. Seth was already here begrudgingly, and he trudged through for us, and we respect that. Exciting round two already in play, boys. Every favorite down early, desperate already, makes for good basketball. So I'm very excited for this round two and all the playoffs ahead of us. Cal, you know what you have to do.
I have
You know what
absolutely
our
nothing.
listeners
It's
want.
midnight on a Tuesday. I don't know why we're doing this.
And with
Until
that, we
next
bid you
time.
adieu.